Hey everybody, welcome back to Master Your Glass. Today I'm going to show you how to make 10 very cool classic Italian aperitivi cocktails. Okay, so the first cocktail I'm going to make is the Bellini cocktail. It was created sometime between 1934 and 1948 by Giuseppe Cipriani, who was the owner and barman of Harry's Bar in Venice. This drink here calls for 1 part of fresh white peach puree and 2 parts of Prosecco. Of course, that depends on the size of your glass. I have a rather large glass. This is a 10 ounce. So I'm going to go with the proportions of 3 ounces to 6 ounces. 3 ounces of this white peach puree. How do you make this white peach puree? Very simply, you puree a white peach without the skin and you put 1 raspberry in it. That is actually part of the authentic recipe. That raspberry's job is just to make the white puree turn into a pink color. So in this case, it's going to be 6 ounces, which is 180 milliliters. Okay, so it's 3 of these. Now, because the bubbles foam up, a little splash in here will help me make sure that I got the right quantity. Let's give this a mix. All right, and just pour it right in. Okay. Line of the glass, right where it bows up, that's where this goes. And our peach Bellini is ready to go. Our next drink actually was also created by Giuseppe Cipriani, and it's called the Rossini. Very simple, right? Once again, we have puree, 1 part, and Prosecco, 2 parts. In this case, we're going to make it strawberry puree. So the Rossini's secret ingredient, just like we had the secret ingredient inside of our peach drink, which was the raspberry. In this case, it's just a little bit of lemon juice. So I have pureed strawberries with a little bit of lemon juice in it. So now we're going to add 3 ounces. Okay, there we go. And once again, we're going to top it with the Prosecco. A little more. And a splash. Okay. Once again, give this a nice little stir. Just like that. And pour this up. And there we have the Rossini. That foam on top is actually what Mr. Cipriani looked for when he was making his drinks. Okay, so the next drink I'm gonna make dates back to the 1800s. It's the Venetian Spritz. And of course, this recipe here honors the most popular of the Venetian Spritz category, which is called the Aperol Spritz. The first thing you do with the Aperol Spritz is you're gonna fill your glass with fresh ice. In it, I'm gonna add 3 ounces of my Prosecco. Okay, just a little gentle pour with a 12 count will give us right where we need to be. And then I'm going to add my 2 ounces of Aperol. So it's a 3-2-1 recipe, right? 3 being 3 ounces of Prosecco, 90 mils. 2 being 2 ounces of Aperol, 60 milliliters. And it's really, yes, an ounce of seltz, but more than that, it's a splash of seltz. All right, so I'm just gonna pick this up for here and show you. Just like that. Okay, what do we garnish an Aperol Spritz with is a half of an orange slice. So I'm gonna go ahead and just do this. It's gotta be a half an orange. So right there, I'm gonna slice that right there, just like that. Set that aside. I'm going to save this orange for later. And drink number 3 is ready, Aperol Spritz. So our next drink is called Hugo. More than likely in America, and it's going to be called Hugo. It was born between 2000 and 2005 in the city of Naturno by a bartender by the name of Roland Gruber, who wanted to create an alternative to the Spritz. So the Hugo sometimes is called the Hugo Spritz, but the local people really don't want you to add the name Spritz to it, so it's Hugo. And a lot of Italians will say they actually even prefer it to the traditional Spritz. We'll see. I am going to go ahead and top some ice on my already chilled glass, but before I do that, but after I do that, I'm also going to drain out that water that I do not need. Okay. Okay, so the Hugo calls for 4 ounces, which is 160 milliliters of Prosecco, and you want to add this first. Okay, just like that. The next ingredient is the elderflower syrup. It actually is said that it was first created the very, very first time with a lemongrass syrup, but that was not so common to find. So the bartender replaced it with an elderflower syrup. Some people also like to use Saint Germain, but of course we're gonna go authentic. Now the reason why I don't add this ingredient first is because once you pop the syrup in the ice, now it gets sticky and you're gonna take a long time to mix that up. So we're gonna go ahead and add 1 ounce of this elderflower syrup, just like that. And 1 more ounce of our soda. Let's do this, like that. Now what makes this drink nice and refreshing is also the presence of mint. And here's how you will probably see it made in Italy by an Italian bartender. They'll take about 6 to 8 mint leaves. Of course, it depends on the size, right? And there's 1 of 2 ways they will incorporate it into the drink. They'll either smack it, which is what I'm gonna do since it's already in the palm of my hand, or in their hand, or they will smack it on the glass. Just like that. You're gonna dump that in there. Then you're gonna take a spoon, get all that mint down, like so. Okay, when it's time to garnish, again, about as authentic as we can get, this drink calls for 1 lime wheel, just like that, and another mint top. And so here you have the cocktail that is even giving the Spritz itself, the Spritz being probably one of the quintessential, refreshing, easy drinking aperitivo. The Hugo is actually giving it a run for its money. All right, so our next aperitivo comes from the area of Brescia, and this cocktail is called Pirlo. Not to confuse the Italian soccer player, Pirlo, who is actually also from Brescia area. This cocktail here is said to perhaps even predate the Spritz. Now, much debate goes behind that, and I do not want any part of that, but I am gonna show you how to make this drink. Okay, 3 ounces, 90 milliliters of unoaked white wine. Why? Because in the area of Brescia, typically Chardonnay and Pinot Bianco are the most common grapes, and they are unoaked. So you would use a local wine, a normal wine. We're gonna go ahead and go with 3 ounces, 90 milliliters. Just like that. Now, some people make the Pirlo with Aperol, but it is blasphemy to your traditional Pirlo drinker because it is actually made with 1 ounce of Campari. Eccoci qua. And then you guessed it, another splash soda. Just like so. Now to differentiate the cocktail, of course, this one goes in more into a balloon glass versus a spritz. But one of the other things that differentiates this drink is this is garnished with a lemon peel. Why is the lemon peel a thing? Because they would like to preserve the inside of the lemon so that they can use it for other things, while they can use the outside for the garnish. So this drink here calls for a nice little lemon peel. I'm gonna just put it just like that. I want it to be seen, so I might move it later, but there you go. Another amazing historical aperitivo cocktail, il Pirlo. Okay, so now on to our next cocktail. It is frequently called bicicletta in some regions or aragosta in other regions, and predominantly the difference can sometimes be exactly what wine you will use in it. But to make this drink, once again, we're going to add ice into the glass. I'm going to strain out all that excess water, just like that. Okay, and now I'm going to take, once again, 3 ounces of white unoaked wine. Just like that. This time we're going to take 2 ounces of Campari, 60 milliliters. And last but not least, 1 ounce of gin. Eccoci. To differentiate this drink with the previous drink, and also to some extent for reasons of authenticity, we are going to add an orange peel. But first, I'm going to give this a nice little mix, just like that. Okay, let's grab our orange and eccoci qua. All right. Aragosta or bicicletta, created in northern Italy, however, really popularized on the Italian island of Sardinia. All right, let's move on to our next drink, which is called the Americano. Again, for ease of time, I'm going to dump out just the water, and I'm going to still use the same ice that I had in here, just like that. The mito calls for equal parts, 1.5 ounces, 45 milliliters of Campari and sweet vermouth. So let's go ahead and start with Campari. One and a half ounces of our sweet vermouth. When you crack open the bottle of sweet vermouth, after it goes in the refrigerator. It is a wine, and so it needs to be refrigerated in order to stay fresh. And then this drink is topped with soda. Mito comes from the word Milano Torino, Milano being where Campari is made, Torino being, of course, the birthplace of Italian sweet vermouth, which why it was called the Mito. Of course, as the American tourists made it to Italy and started drinking the Mitos, it became so popular as the drinks that the Americans drank that it took the name of Americano. I am glad I saved this nice little orange slice right here, because I'm gonna set that right in there, and there you have it, Milano Torino. Of course, our next drink is graduation of the Milano Torino, which is the Negroni. It was what happened when Count Negroni asked for his Milano Torino to have some gin in it. And so we'll make that one really quickly. I have an episode on this separately, which you can also see, but on this one, we're gonna make it quick and dirty. Okay, ice cold glass. I know many bartenders say it's blasphemy. I believe that the lightest ingredient goes first. I'm not like a big fighter about it. If you don't want to do it this way, you won't hurt my feelings, but I believe lightest ingredient goes first, especially when you're working a busy happy hour in Italy where mixing is quick and dirty. You want the ingredients to kind of mix as you're making it. So when you're putting a heavier ingredient on top of a lighter one, it's kind of doing the job a little bit, which is really nice, so that a quick stir will then take you to the promised land. All right, Campari right there, 1 ounce, 30 mils, as was the gin. And last but not least, 1 ounce, 30 mils of our sweet vermouth. Now, some Italian bartenders, old school, claim that the soda was still inside the Negroni. So some Italian bartenders will actually add a splash of soda inside of their Negroni, because Since then, we've all really learned to enjoy it as a boozy, alcohol-forward cocktail. I'm not gonna add it today. However, if I came to your bar and you added it, it would not hurt my feelings. I would not fight you ever. Okay, so this one here is gonna call for a half slice of orange, just like that. Set that right there, and andiamo. It's said that you tuck it right in between the glass and the ice so that you can differentiate it with other cocktails, such as the Milano Torino at the time, which was garnished with a lemon. I think the next drink is one of the most fun, great sense of humor Italian aperitivo cocktails, and it's the Negroni Sbagliato, which again is typically more commonly known just as sbagliato. What does sbagliato means? It means it's a mistake. Although I have a suspicion that there was no mistake here, because when you look at the cocktail in the way it was originally made, it was in a gigantic glass, and you can tell these people were using some sense of humor. It is said to have been created at Bar Basso by barman Mirko Stocchetto, who mistakenly, hence the word sbagliato, put Prosecco instead of gin inside of his Negroni. Let's go ahead and make it. I'm gonna take my chilled glass. I'm gonna dump it all out. If you drink it at Bar Basso, typically they use a very large ice cube. So I'm gonna take one large cube, put it in here. Again, if you drink this in Italy, most of the times it will be served in a rocks glass. However, at Bar Basso, they have this stemmed large glass, which is why I'm trying to bring you as original as I can here today. Okay, ingredient number one is going to be Campari, 1 ounce, 30 milliliter. As you can see, these cocktails pretty much all call for similar ingredients. So you can make so many drinks with these few ingredients that I have here today. Sweet vermouth, also 1 ounce and 30 mils. Eccoci. And then of course it calls for equal part, 1 ounce, 30 mils of Prosecco. However, I kind of like it with a little bit more than that. I like the Campari and the vermouth to flavor my Prosecco, and I still want to taste the Prosecco, which of course is going to add acid and crisp flavor to it. So I add about 2 ounces, 60 mils. Just like that. One nice little stir, like so. And like I said, if you drink it in Italy, you might get different versions. At Bar Basso, you will get one large, round, orange slice that looks pretty much like this. Oh. And again, it's a fun drink. It has sense of humor. It's amazing. If you're in Milano, you should really enjoy it. Okay, so now it takes us to our very last drink, which is called Il Cardinale. Il Cardinale was invented by Giovanni Raimondo at the Excelsior Hotel in the 1950s in Rome. It is a stirred drink, so it's probably going to be the most swanky, boozy one here that we have. There are two versions of the cocktail. The one that I am making is actually the one that came from Giovanni himself. So in a beaker, I am going to add ice almost to the top, like so. Okay, so now in the beaker, I'm going to have 1.5 ounces or 45 mils of gin. Eccoci. Three-quarters of an ounce, which is 22 mils of Campari. And 3/4 of an ounce, again, 22 mils of dry vermouth. Again, these are always to be kept cold once they're opened. And there we go. Okay, our glass is chilled, our spoon is here. Give this a nice little stir. When you stir these cocktails, you really want to stir them for a while. About 20 seconds or more is actually very common because you really want to add a lot of dilution, and you want to add, you want to make sure that they are very cold. And so the shaker is a lot quicker at doing that job, but the shaker, of course, aerates your cocktail. In order to get that same amount of, let's call it coldness, and let's call it dilution in a stirred drink, you have to go for a little bit longer than that. So there we go. There we go. Dump out any excess water and just like that. And last but not least, we're gonna garnish this too with the wonderful peel of a lemon, just like that. And there you have it. The first one we have is the Bellini. The second one we have, let me set it right here, is going to be Il Rossini. The third one we prepared was the iconic Aperol Spritz. Next, the refreshing and delicious Hugo or Hugo, wherever you prefer. The next one is going to be Il Pirlo from Brescia. Next one we're going to have is La Bicicletta, which means bicycle, or also means Aragosta. Then we have Milano Torino, or Americano, more commonly known. We have the Negroni on the rocks, as you would probably get it in Italy. Then we have Il Negroni Sbagliato. And last but not least, we have Il Cardinale. Thank you for watching this entire episode. Hopefully you came all the way through to see these 10 cocktails in creation. I really appreciate you allowing me to spend some time with you and show you the cocktails of Italy and how amazing they are with great foods such as salami, prosciutto, anything that's very salty or high in acid. You take a little bite, you take a little sip, you socialize. And this right here is Italian glassed poetry. If you did like this episode, please do hit like and subscribe and watch more of my shows. I will also add a link of a couple more great cocktails that are Italian that I have made. The Garibaldi, which is a really nice fluffy orange cocktail, and the Sgroppino, which is a great lemon-based intermezzo, which I feel along with these 10 kind of are encompassing everything that you would want to see. If you like these drinks, please comment. If you didn't like them, comment as well. I take your comments very seriously. And come back to more Master Your Glass with me, Livio Lauro, where you get expert instruction for everyday consumption.